In this video, I'm going to teach you what I call the 17-5 routine, which I use to thrive in the kitchen, being the best father I can inside of it and the best chef I can at home. 17 routines that run my life. The daily operating systems behind calm, clarity, and consistency. How often do you arrive at the end of the day and suddenly think of all the things that you meant to do? To me, I don't see this as a time management issue. I see it as a routine issue, as a check out, go into autopilot, but autopilot isn't serving you kind of issue. I've found many chefs live in reaction mode, constantly pivoting, putting out fires, relying on pressure to fuel performance and drive their decisions. And some of us have done that for so long that in a way we're kind of addicted to it. That's our autopilot. I did that for years, decades. I told myself, I'm a creator and I refuse to live with boring routines and walk around with a clipboard. But I was also young. I would call myself quite foolish. And I was burning out, proud of everything that I kept inside of my head, missing all the details and becoming extremely difficult to work with. Not only that, but losing my joy in the work that I actually love to do. I didn't realize it, but I had routines. It had not yet occurred to me that I hadn't taken the time to build the right ones, but again, young and foolish. Now, before it got better, it definitely got worse. Not only was I not creating, but strongly resisting healthy routines, which was leading to the development of some genuinely destructive ones. Now, I'll never forget a conversation with Sean, a friend that I had from culinary school, that took place shortly after graduation, maybe a year or so. Sean went into contract food service via the Aramark route. I wanted to stay in upscale, high-touch, a la carte and events. I think my words were, do epic shit. That's what I wanted to do. We were both successful in our roles, but Sean had an appreciation for systems and checklists that at the time totally repulsed me. In fact, it sent me in the other direction. Looking back, I had routines, but I can only do that now. I hadn't chosen any of them. They were all defaults. They weren't decisions. Many of the routines simply existed and supported a different set of values. The majority of those routines weren't built by anything intentional. They were defaults. Things that I picked up over the years that seemed right at the time or were taught to me by people who lived the way that they lived. I'd maybe get off of work, stop at the bar, have 4 beers, then go home. And that was a habit for a long time. Or maybe even work until I couldn't see the screen clearly in the office, head home, half asleep, watch TV until I pass out, wake up whenever and go to work, repeat. Finally, in a training session, a strength coach helped me to see that the routines that I had were keeping me from what I really wanted to accomplish. The real wake-up call came when I started working with a business coach. And she finally said, you either suffer the pain of discipline for the effort, or you live the pain of regret from not getting where you want to go. That moment shattered a foolish belief that was keeping me stuck, that was keeping me from adopting the very thing that I needed in order to make my life a lot more fluid. Routines run the day, whether you choose them or not. The chefs who thrive in a sustainable way, they live out a purposeful routine every day to run their kitchens before their day runs them. So let's get into it. 17-5. 17 routines, 5 operating blocks. At this point in my life, after having been in the kitchen for almost 30 years, on this earth for nearly 45, I've narrowed a great day to 17 contributors, and I've learned to chop up my day into 5 blocks to try and fit those 17 routines into. Some days it's not even close to all of them. Some days it's not about being perfect. Block 1, AM routine. Start your day before you start anything else. Now, inside the block are meant to be 3 simple routines. Number 1, morning alignment. What I consider to be gratitude, grace, nourish, and be. Take the time to really square myself away, understand my own thoughts, be thankful for my life, talk to God, nourish myself properly, and be me in my life. kind of remind myself of who I am outside of the kitchen, because I think later on in life that becomes a really important piece. Routine number 2, move physically, stretch, sweat, or walk. But you got to get your body working. And I think when you do that, it becomes a lot easier to stay flexible and keep moving. And trust me, you'll appreciate this later on in life if you're young. Take my word for it if you don't experience it yet. Routine number 3 is prioritize. And I like to make sure that I review my priorities. Not necessarily everything, but the keys. And then I want to make sure that I list the steps that I'm taking during the day in order to move in the direction of those priorities. Which brings us to block number 2. Block number 2 is about command and calibrate. So think of this as getting the ball rolling for the day. And this happens on the way to work and as I arrive where I'm going. That kicks us off with the next 3 routines. Number 4, if you're keeping track, is the opening routine. And this is just a step-by-step of what happens when I walk in the door. Arrival, walkthrough, inbox review, check event sheets, set the tone with the team. And that, to me, means walking around and saying hello. Routine number 5, team synchronization. This is about getting together with my SUs, my leads, everybody who talks to the team and helps disseminate the vision and the path, and making sure that I'm taking the time to get my pre-meeting briefs in, my daily standards, and touching on anything from the day before, and building alignment with the team before the action really gets moving and it's too late to change anything. Routine number 6, I call this KPI time, key performance indicator time. This is a few minutes that I step aside and I want to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on my performance indicators. Labor, checking my food cost trending, looking at the pulse of the staffing, seeing if there's any adjustments that need to be made. Another way to look at this is what I like to call is thinking of yourself as the chef, as a CEO, as a business owner. If this were your business, what are the things that would be the most important to make sure that we're taking place? And I want to make sure that that's a part of every single day. That way it's not a surprise at the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year. Block 3, operational oversight and leadership. I think of this as zooming into ground level, and that's what keeps me grounded with the team. And the next 3 routines inside of that, production oversight. I want to make sure that I'm tasting, I'm doing quality and quantity checks, I'm coaching on the line. Your eyes and the way that you explain what you see is what makes you the leader. It's what makes you the boss. And that has the greatest impact on the team and keeps you in a credible place with them. The next routine, number 8, again, if you're keeping track, flow and fire management. There's always going to need to be some time to put out other people's fires, to deal with emergencies as they come along. This is about station support, front of the house sync, guest issue triage, any other issue triage for that matter. In other words, real-time adjustments which keep the service, keep the team, and keep the operation flowing smoothly. Routine number 9 is about a midday pulse check. I want to make sure that I'm taking my time to get vendor updates, take care of key interdepartmental connections, or making key interdepartmental connections, because nothing lubricates the gears with maintenance like cheeseburgers for the team. That's just a lesson that I've learned that makes a world of difference. And then just check-ins in general. Maybe with the admin department, maybe with accounting, maybe with the GM. All of those are really important, but I found that making the check-in a routine part of my day keeps me moving and it keeps my team politically connected with all of those other departments. Block 4, reset and strategize. And this can happen at the end of the day, this can happen at the end of your day, but this is where reflection and planning have an opportunity to have an impact on tomorrow. So the routines here that I like to focus on. Number 10, my follow-up routine. This is where I make sure, again, out of habit, I'm verifying my delegated tasks. Maybe that's the sheet of paper that I'm looking at, or maybe that's checking with the people that I've already talked to in the morning. Documenting lessons from the day because it's important to look back and know what you learned. And then making sure that I'm reinforcing expectations for things that need to get done. Follow-up is a huge part of what has made me successful, so why not build that into part of my day? The next is what I consider deep work. Number 11. At some point in the day, there needs to be a place where deep work gets done, and deep work is the work that only we can do in our roles. Sometimes that's menu development, sometimes that's a feedback loop, sometimes that's a strategic planning session, maybe it's OKRs, KPIs, maybe it's standard operating procedure refinement or review. Either way, deep work needs some chunk on a regular basis, and the more that that is considered a part of the daily routine, the more often then I can keep moving the bar. Because for me, moving the bar is the most fulfilling part of the work that I do. Routine number 12 is the closing routine. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my closing duties. That may not necessarily mean closing down the enterprise. Maybe it does exactly. But I want to make sure that end of the day logs are, if not completed, at least distributed, and they're going to be done. Everybody knows who needs to do them. I want to do my kitchen walkthrough before I leave. I want to do my shift recap, say goodbye. And what I think most important is a mental downshift before leaving to make sure that I'm not leaving any stone unturned or anything on the stove that I need to think about while I'm at home. That's a big shift from where I was as a younger chef, because block 5 is what I consider ending the day right. And these 5 final routines are about counterbalance. They're about my family. They're about me showing up with the right kind of mise en place that I need to be at home. Literally. Number 13, reset on the ride. Mise en place for home. Listen to music and get into the right state to get home so that the nonsense from the day isn't the first thing that you unload on your family when you get there. 14 is what I like to call the happy puppy routine. And yeah, I have a picture of my puppy. And I like, when I get home, to try and act like a happy dog when I walk in that door, because I want my tail to be wagging if my kids are still up or when I see my wife. 15, be at home. Don't be somewhere else. It takes a lot of work for me. It's not something that came easy, but I just spent a fair chunk of time working on the operation. My goal now is to be at home. And that's why I want to make sure that I've gone through my closing routine, not to say that I won't take calls, not to say that I won't deal with problems that are necessary, but my goal is to not. 16 is making sure that there's a healthy unwind, because I know what an unhealthy unwind looks like. Now, a healthy unwind to me now is probably a few pages of a book and a cup of tea. Might even be just a cup of tea and a conversation. Could be a little bit of time sitting on the porch, just listening to the bugs. 17, go to bed on a schedule. I just simply call routine 17 is bedtime. Go to bed on a schedule. The reason I go that route is because I used to watch TV until I passed out or until I woke up and realized that I was on the couch watching TV. Wake up every day exhausted. When I have a bedtime, I may lay into bed and stare at the ceiling for a little while, but at the end of the day, I still go to bed much earlier than I used to, and I get more quality sleep. My life starts a lot earlier now than it used to. I need to get a head start on the day before everybody else around me gets moving, but I also want to be a part of the morning for when my little girl wakes up. That's important to me. In order for me to do that and show up the way that I want to, I need to go to bed and at least get a reasonable night's sleep. Or go to bed as early as I can and get as much sleep as I possibly can. 17.5 isn't about perfection. It's not meant to be something fancy. It's just something that reminds me that there's a pattern that I can live by and have a fairly positive end of a day as long as I do as much of it as possible. In fact, at this point in my life, I've realized that as long as I'm trying, I generally have a better day. It's also about making sure that there's a rhythm. The more I live that, the more that the rhythm flows. You know, and at the end of the day, the rhythm is about presence and leadership, and it doesn't collapse under outside circumstances when it's that kind of a rhythm. It's like seeing things from 30,000 feet while staying grounded with the team. The biggest lie, I believe, for the longest time was that great chefs can't be systems chefs. And the more I come to understand life, the more I realize that systems, processes are essentially routines and habits, just documented, teachable. You know, the truth is that we already have all of those routines, those processes, and those systems. And if we're not taking the time to choose them, then inevitably stress and emergency run the show for us. On the other hand, the other side of that coin is that routines bring rhythm. With rhythm comes clarity, confidence, and predictability, so that you build clarity, confidence, and teams that can thrive with you leading, not stressing about needing to do every little thing. The 17.5 routine isn't about control for control's sake. It's about reclaiming ownership of time, of your energy, and of your leadership. Because every moment in the kitchen is either dictated by intention or interruption. Once I started applying this framework, I noticed something really significant. My decisions became clearer, my presence became steadier, my response became predictable, and the chaos didn't necessarily disappear, but it became predictable and therefore not chaos at all. It's the reason why I talk about structure being a cure for chaos. because by the time chaos becomes consistent and regular, well, it's just another day. So here's what I hope you take away from this. When your routines are deliberate, your results become predictable. When your day has rhythm, your leadership gains range and scalability. And when your routines support you, you're not a victim of anything consuming your life. You don't have to earn exhaustion to be a great chef. God, I wish somebody told me that when I was a young cook. You just have to choose systems that actually support where you want to go. Over time, you'll need to adopt systems to support who you're becoming. So if this hits home, here's what I'd recommend. Start by identifying your routines, the things that you do, evaluate if they're serving you or if you're serving them, and adjust. If anything here struck a chord with you, if any of my routines struck a chord with you, then I would encourage you to pick one, dig into it, add it, figure it out. Consider chopping up your day or breaking up your routines. It'd be a wild ride, be a little bumpy at first, but it's definitely going to lead to a different result. And if you're interested in what I think are the 9 must-read books for professional chefs, then I encourage you to check out this video here. If you got value from this video, like it, share it with a chef who could use a little bit of rhythm in their life, and subscribe for more culinary structure to help you thrive. Thank you for being with me, and I'll see you in the next video.